Did you ever have a hobby, talent, or interest that you wish you could have pursued? Did you talk yourself out of pursuing that passion, believing that you needed to get a more practical job instead? Do you have an idea for a product or service that you'd like to develop? Have you ever wished that you could live your dream and make money doing what you love? Well, you can. With Walt Goodridge's Passion Profit Formula, you can transform any hobby, talent, passion, interest, or idea into a money-making venture. Several years ago, Walt walked away from his high-paying job as a New York City civil engineer to pursue his passion for music, writing, and helping others. In the process, he created a unique formula that countless numbers have used to unlock their passion's hidden value. Using Walt's methods, you can too.
Hi, my name is Walt Goodridge, author of Turn Your Passion into Profit. Thanks for ordering the audio edition of Turn Your Passion into Profit. Now, before we get started, I'd like to share a few tips and ideas for getting the most from this audio series. In addition to the recorded information of my step-by-step process that you'll also find in the paperback edition, this audio edition includes excerpts from live workshops, interviews with successful passionpreneurs, and even recordings of coaching sessions with my clients. And it's all designed to give you the most comprehensive overview of what it will require to turn your passion into profit. Now, second, there are certain aspects of turning your passion into profit that are best explained in written form. So included in the workbook you receive with this audio series are charts, tax forms, tables, and other items that you should review along with listening to this series to get the most out of this program. And finally, I want to share with you how this audio program was created. I'm right now sitting at a desk in my apartment speaking into a microphone that I bought at Radio Shack, plugged into an Apple PowerBook G4 laptop, and recorded directly into a program called GarageBand. I'm not in a recording studio spending thousands of dollars, and I'm recording it at my leisure, sitting in my in my pajamas or whenever I feel like it. Now, the reason I share this information with you is because everything that I'm going to share with you in this audio program is designed to help you get quickly and efficiently from an idea to making money, turning your passion into profit. And 9 times out of 10, there is nothing really standing in the way of people doing exactly that. A lot of times people think they need money, they need certain expertise, and a lot of it is doable with a little bit of creativity and just a little bit of courage. So my point is to focus you on completion rather than perfection, which is not to say we're going to put out inferior products, but again, there's usually nothing standing in the way of you going directly to market with an idea, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. So, having said all of that, let's get started turning your passion into profit. Now, here's a brief preview of what we'll cover in this 6-CD series. Each of the numbered audio sessions corresponds to the same chapter in Turn Your Passion into Profit. Audio sessions 1 and 2 will prepare you for the passion to profit journey. We'll cover what exactly is a passionpreneur, frequently asked questions about becoming a passionpreneur, how the world is changing, why it's necessary to start thinking seriously about turning your own passion into profit, and how to overcome the usual excuses people have for moving forward. Audio session 3, entitled Thinking Differently, covers what the only 2 causal emotions in the universe are, what is entrepreneurphobia and how to tell if you've got it, how your thoughts create your reality, using the law of attraction to get what you want, controlling your reactions to life, the order of creation, and how to put your new thoughts into practice. Audio session 4, entitled Your Wow Factor, will cover how to determine the unique value of your passion, how to use your wow factor to impress and grow rich, and the 12 rules of wow. Sessions 5 through 8 will cover the full and detailed passion to profit cycle of success. Session 5 covers discovering your purpose. Session 6 covers identifying your passion. Session 7 covers creating a product or service. Session 8 covers marketing it for profit. Audio session 9, entitled Starting Your Business, will help you determine what business you're in, choosing who to sell to, choosing the right business model, naming your business, protecting your assets and ideas, 15 ways to finance your business, and how to cut costs and get everything for less. Audio session 10, entitled Selling with Passion, will explain the difference between selling, marketing, publicity, promotion, and branding, how to develop the right mindset for selling, the how, what, when, and where of selling, and deciding how to distribute your product. For session 11, entitled Accounting and Taxes for the Mathematically Challenged, you'll need a copy of the workbook, which includes samples of cash flow analyses, balance sheets, profit and loss statements, as well as completed tax forms for several different scenarios. And finally, audio session 12, entitled Enough to Pay the Rent, will cover how to grow your business, what it means to match your income, when to quit your job, making the move to millionaire, and developing your exit strategy. By the end of this 12-session series, you'll have a greater sense of clarity about what you'd like to achieve, a greater belief level that is possible, as well as a concrete plan of action to make it happen. So let's get started, and I'll tell you a little bit about myself and my journey and my own path of turning my passion into profit.
Live and shown the courage to live the dreams that many of us are very reluctant to live. Walt is a civil engineer by trade through Columbia University, known as the Passion Prophet. Now, he holds a Bachelor of Science from Columbia University, and as a former civil engineer, walked away from his job to follow his passion for music, writing, and sharing information. Throughout his entrepreneurial journey, he has been a radio DJ, artist manager, record label owner, network marketer, inventor, poet, writer, all these things. He's written and published 10 books, owns and operates a dozen websites, writes for Entrepreneur Magazine, Black Enterprise Magazine, was recently featured in Time Magazine, and the Wall Street Journal. Walt conducts Passion Profit Workshop, just like this one that you're about to enjoy, and also offers one-on-one coaching to help others turn their passions into profit. And now, with no further ado, Mr. Walt Goodridge.
Okay, great. Thank you, Ron. Okay, in the interest of time, we want to make sure we accomplish as much as possible in this next hour and a half that we have. All right, so before we get started, first I'd like to encourage you to think about the answers to these questions. My passion is fill in the blank, and my challenge is, and fill in the blank. And it's okay if you don't know what your passion is. We're going to cover that in the next few minutes. Okay, as Ron mentioned, my background is actually civil engineering. I only ended up in engineering because my counselor in high school said, you're good in math and science, you need to be an engineer. So following her lead, I went to Columbia University, majored in engineering, graduated with a Bachelor of Science, started work in corporate America, and within the first 15 minutes of my first day on the job, I realized beyond the shadow of a doubt that I absolutely hated it. Hated what I was doing, hated working for somebody else, hated having to get up in the morning, before I was finished sleeping. To me, that freedom is what I really craved. So eventually, I started looking around for what I would rather be doing instead of engineering. And I looked to the music industry because that was my passion when I was in college. I did a radio show for a few years. So I decided I was going to launch my own record label and become the next Russell Simmons. And we released some music, had a fair amount of success, but things really didn't take off the way that I liked, despite the success, because I wasn't being fulfilled with that journey. But one day someone called on the phone and I ended up giving them a lot of information, helping them with their record label, helping them to get distribution. And the fellow said to me on the phone, Mr. Goodridge, I thank you for that information. I would have been willing to pay you for it if you had asked me. So I said, wow, okay, how much would you have been willing to pay? And he said, I don't know, $179. And that was the exact figure he quoted. Didn't make any sense to me, but that's the figure he quoted. So I had a light bulb over my head and I realized, I'm good at teaching people things. That seems to be my talent, my gift, my passion. So I decided with no background, no training, no publishing experience, no journalism degree, that I was going to sit down and write a book to show young hip-hop entrepreneurs how to start their own record label and release their own music. And that's what I did. Sat down, put it together, worked days, nights, weekends, lunch hours, office hours, worked all that I could, to get this book out because I wanted to debut it at a music industry convention. And I did, took it down there with flyers and handed it out and made an announcement at this music industry event. And the response was so great that by the time I got back, now, first of all, I only went down there with one copy of the book. When I actually finished my book the night before or the morning of my flight to Atlanta for that convention, all I had was one copy that's Kinko's spiral bound for me, and I took it down there, and that was my first copy of my book. But someone even wanted to buy that copy from me right there at the convention, but that was my only copy, so I didn't sell them. But by the time I got back to New York, there was a check in my mailbox from someone who had gotten a flyer at the event in Atlanta. So the response was there. So what happened was checks started coming in more. I advertised it in music industry magazines, and I was starting to make more and more money. I had to take the book, which still didn't exist in book form. I had to take the book, my 250-page manuscript, to work early in the morning and photocopy. Just want to make sure there's no one from the Port Authority here, right? I would take my 250-page manuscript to work, stand up by the copy machine, run it off and photocopy 2 copies, 3 copies at a time, take it back home, bind it with a spiral binding machine. And that's how I sold the first 150 copies of my book until I got up enough money to actually produce it in actual book form. All right? Now, all of these elements of the story I'm telling you because, not just because they're fun to listen to, but because they introduce a different concept that I often find prevents people from moving forward with their passion. And I want to focus on completion rather than perfection, which is not to say that I want to put out a poor product, but in the process of moving forward, for me, getting something done, getting it out there, moving forward is more important than perfection, because a lot of people want things to be perfect and use that as their excuse for not moving forward with all deliberate speed. Is that making sense? So every element of the story that I tell you is so that I can impart to you the way that I think about my passion and how I pursued it, and also so that you can see yourself doing some of the things that I do, so that we can raise our belief level about how possible it is for you to move beyond where you are now to where you'd like to be. Because I'm assuming that you're here today because there's something you'd like to change about your situation. Whether it's discovering your passion, whether it's taking your passion to a new level, but there's something that you've come here specifically, and it's either going to be something that you need to know or something that you need to do. It all hinges on basically something that you need to know. Marianne Williamson, in her book Return to Love, talks about that if you're stuck in a place in your life, there's usually not something you need to do. It's more importantly something that you need to know that is going to free you from a limited way of thinking. Is that making sense? Okay, so as we go forward, make sure you take notes. Make sure you write down any ideas that appeal to you that you need to remind yourself of. But also make sure that you leave with a game plan, a task list. It's going to be my job to impart to you specific things that you need to do starting tonight, starting tomorrow, in order to move yourself to the next level. So when you leave here today, make sure you have that game plan. But getting back to my story. So eventually I was faced with a situation. I had a 9-to-5 job that I was making about $50,000 a year at the time, making about $4,000 to $5,000 a month. And I'm also making the same amount through mail order. This is before the days of the internet. These are just checks showing up in my mailbox. I'm making the same amount of money selling my spiral bound book through a mail order business that I started with no training, just my passion, just my desire. But I knew I wanted to transition and do this full time, but I was still held back. I had fear. I had the fear that if I were to jump out and quit my job, that all of a sudden the bottom would just drop out of my business and people would stop ordering and I'd find myself homeless. Now, the truth of it is, I'll get to that part of the story later, but I actually did go through a lot of ups and downs. But anyway, more on that in a second. So at the time, I joined a network marketing company. Anyone here familiar with companies like Amway and Excel and Meraki, those types of companies, network marketing company. And it was the best thing that I ever did, because one of the things they focus on is training, is improving your mindset, because they understand whether you're selling Shockley shakes or whether you're selling shoelaces, it doesn't matter what you're selling. Your success is a function of the thoughts that you bring to the endeavor. So if you believe that you're limited, that you'll have limited results. If you believe in abundance, you'll have abundant results. So it's all a function of what you bring. So they spend a lot of time in network marketing companies encouraging you to read books like Think and Grow Rich, The Power of Positive Thinking, take Tony Robbins, motivational courses, all in an effort to change the way you think about reality. So I went to a leadership training. It was an event similar to this, about 50 to 100 people. We were discussing mindset. We were having exercises that would help us think differently, and I got really charged up. This is back in the late 90s, before I actually jumped out and quit my job. But at that workshop, this was on a Sunday, I got so charged up that I made a decision right then and there that if I was going to be happy, if I was going to break free from corporate America, that I had to do something right then and there. So I made a decision to quit my job. Took off from work the Monday to write my 2-line resignation letter. To whom it may concern, this is to inform you that as of August 5th, 1995, I shall no longer be employed as a civil engineer with the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. Walked it in on Tuesday, despite the protestations of all my sane thinking friends, and I jumped out on my own as a full-time entrepreneur ever since. Thank you. Now, I mentioned that just to put a little break in the story, because that wasn't the success story. The success didn't come till later. That was just the decision making. I learned the hard way that I didn't have what it took to be a successful full-time entrepreneur. Is there anyone here who is full-time in their entrepreneurial pursuit? Anyone? Okay. Is there anyone here who works for the government or the city or the state in any way? Anyone? Used to. Okay. Used to. Now, you can answer this question. If you, when you were working for the city, if you decided tomorrow, Monday, let's say, 2 days from now, that you weren't going to do any work on Monday, if you decided that you wanted to play solitaire at your computer, would you still get paid on Friday? Absolutely, very likely. And I learned that as well. And that's the sort of thing that I brought to the entrepreneurial game, but it didn't quite work. Because you realize as an entrepreneur, you have to get up and do what needs to be done, or else no money is going to come. And this is a really serious point that we'll focus on more in this workshop, because you have to change the level of commitment. You have to change your work ethic. You have to change what you're willing to put yourself through in order to get to the other side. So, like I said, I learned the hard way. And in fact, I got my lights turned off, got my telephone disconnected. I was ducking the landlord. Eventually, I got evicted. Me and my landlord, we disagreed on a few key points. He wanted his rent paid on time, and I couldn't do it. So eventually, yes, I actually got evicted. And I got evicted twice. I mentioned that not to scare you, but to let you know, one, among other things, there is life after eviction. And that's a serious thing to comprehend, that whatever it is you think is stopping you from moving forward in your journey, you will still be alive beyond it. Seriously, if you think about it, a lot of people think that the world is going to end, that things are going to stop, if they run into that thing, whatever that thing that you believe is preventing you from pursuing your passion. So I just want to let you know there is life afterwards. I ended up living on my friends' couches. I ended up, staying with other friends for a while, but eventually built my business back up, got to the point where I knew what it took to be a successful entrepreneur. The internet came along. I wrote some other books. I learned marketing strategies to be able to launch a business and start making money within 24 hours online. I learned strategies to gain massive PR so that I can help other people take what it is they love to do and hopefully avoid the evictions and the lights being turned off, but get to a point where they can start to see some encouraging rewards from pursuing their passion. So that's what I'd like to do today. So if where I am now is at a point where I've done it for myself and I've done it for other people as well. Help you get beyond whatever you believe is preventing you from taking that next level, giving you whatever belief, encouragement, tactics that you need in order to maximize your business and move forward so that you can continue on the journey of turning your passion into profit. So now I'm at a point where I can be here in Florida talking to you guys, where my website is still up 24 hours a day, making money selling my website, selling my books, selling other people's products as well. And that's the sort of paradigm change that I'd like to suggest to you today, that the way that you perceive of making money can be radically different from how you think money should be made. All right, so really quickly, what I'd like to do is get a feel for what your passion is, what you believe your challenge is, and in other words, what you'd like to see happen next. And what I'd like to help you leave with today is something specific. If it's something you need to know, a website you need to know about, a book you need to know about, a person you need to contact, a strategy you need to implement, a concept for a product, an organization that you need to leave, but there's something specific that you came here for today. It might simply be to meet somebody else who is successfully turning their passion into profit, and that could be it. But think about specifically what it is you'd like to see happen next, and make sure that you leave with that answer today. Does that make sense? All right, so who is my first volunteer? Let me go with you. First, your name, what your passion is, and what you believe your challenge is. If you don't know what your passion is, then that's fine, because I'm going to go into giving you some ideas to figuring out what that is as well. What's your passion and what your challenge is. First, some rules. As you speak, from now on, not just in this workshop, but from now on, there are certain words that you're not going to use ever, 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 ever again. And how many people here have read Think and Grow Rich, The Power of Positive Thinking, books like that? You understand that the words you use are the creative force of your own reality. So the words that you use to describe what you're doing, what you plan on doing, and how you perceive things actually creates the very reality that you may not want to be experiencing. So there's certain words that you're not going to use. The first one is the word try. Okay? You're not going to use that word try. When you describe for me what it is you're doing, you're not going to use the word try. If someone says to you, what's your name, ma'am? If you're throwing a dinner party, Judy, and someone says to you, oh, Judy, that sounds like fun, I'm going to try and be there. If you've ever thrown a dinner party and anyone says, I'm going to try and make it, 9 times out of 10, they're not showing up. And you know this. Basically, what they're doing is telling you they're not committed, and they're giving you their excuse ahead of time. And their excuse is, oh, I tried. I really tried, but I couldn't make it. So we're not going to try. This is my intention. This is what I intend to do. This is what I am doing. This is what I'm in the process of doing. This is my goal. This is my plan. But no more try. All right? Because if I said to you, what's your name? Weeda. If I said to you, Weeda, I need you to be on the corner of North Federal Highway and 26th Street next year, March 5th. And I'll have a suitcase with $1 million for you. What would you tell me? I'll be there. She wouldn't say, I'll try and make it. She wouldn't say, I'll have to see what the babysitter is doing. She'll say, I will be there. And that degree of commitment is what you can bring to anything that you will attempt, anything that you intend to bring to fruition. It's done. I'm there. This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm working on. It's not dependent on any other forces except your commitment to make it happen. She knows that it doesn't matter what the weather is that day. Doesn't matter if all the roads are destroyed between where she lives and North Federal Highway, she will find a way to get there to get that $1 million. And that's the same sort of thinking, that $1 million commitment thinking you can bring to anything that you envision for yourself as it relates to turning your passion into profit. Okay? Second word you're not going to use anymore is the word problem. No more problem. Be really conscious of this, and if you can have friends or family members check up on you on this, don't use the word problem. There are no problems in life. There are only challenges and opportunities. Challenges, situations, and opportunities. And you may think that's a small point, but it's really key. If your boss said to you tomorrow, what's your name, ma'am? Glasses on the end? Brandy. If your boss said to you tomorrow, Brandy, get in my office. We have a big problem. Immediately that affects your physiology. You get nervous. You start to think, oh no, a problem. And if you weren't good in math and science, then you know a problem is something you may not get the answer to at the end of the test. Whereas a challenge is different. A challenge is something you rise to. You rise to meet a challenge. You deal with a situation. Okay, so very clear about the things that are, and that's why I wrote this word here. What is my challenge? What is the situation that I need to overcome in order to move forward? So those are the main 2 rules for now. And if you break any others as you speak, I'll just interrupt you and embarrass you in front of the class, all right? So describe your passion and what your challenge is very clearly, succinctly, and my job is to help you gain a certain amount of clarity. So don't be offended if I interrupt you and help to refocus you on the question. What's your passion? What's your challenge?